We are one. When my boot comes down on your neck, we are one. That's right. Piano solo. Do you feel it? I feel it. It's got me by the feels. So bad, baby.
I'm going to show you a video of a trans person having a breakdown, a literal breakdown on camera, and I'm not showing it to you to make fun of this person or to create entertainment out of it. I'm showing it to you to prove a point. So this person had an incident at the gym that they work at where someone was uncomfortable with them coming into the dressing rooms. They totally freak out and spiral out of control. And it's very important to see this and to understand what I'm getting at here.
As most of you know, I work at a gym here in the city. And today, one of our members went up to one of my coworkers and told them that they were uncomfortable with the man who looks like a woman being in the dressing room. And in lieu of these election results.
I don't understand that part. In lieu of these election results, it doesn't make sense to me. But anyway.
People are feeling way more bold. I had to step from the front desk after they told me. Because I'm spiraling. I feel alone and I feel like nobody can understand.
They're really having a breakdown, a full-on breakdown, because somebody said something about
How it feels. I already feel weird enough going into the dressing room. Like mad imposter syndrome, like I don't belong there. I don't know what to do.
They don't know what to do. Look, the system has lied to you. They have fed you delusions, literal delusions, as normal. The system has convinced you that something is normalized when it isn't normalized. The system has poisoned you. The system has poisoned your body. Completely. Your body did not react to this poison well. And these are the side effects. A while back I released a video called The Weaponization of the Fringe, coaxing a naive rabbit out of its poisoned hole. And I'm going to link to that video below because it's important. Oddly, directly after releasing this video, Blair White released a video using the exact same terminology that I did. It's very odd. This section of this video is sort of a continuation of that video. And it's a great example of what's going on. This has happened before, just in a different way. And they have pumped you so full of chemicals, so full of poisons, GMOs, pharmaceuticals, etc., that you have not developed correctly. You are now both physically and emotionally damaged. You all talk about strength and pride, but you are broken into pieces over a few words. You completely spiral out of control into a dark, positionless abyss. And those that were ahead of you, that were planning all of this, and pumping these ideas and poisons into you, knew that this was coming. They have weaponized this offended generation as an arm of the octopus to destroy logic and to destroy free speech in this country, as well as a plethora of other things, but it's your weakness that they are preying on. And after they have gotten what they want out of you, they will be the ones that feed you to the angry mobs themselves to avoid blame and to avoid repercussions. This is what these people do. And you're too naive and brainwashed to understand exactly why they decided to coax you, the rabbit, out of its hole. They did this because they knew that you'd be too trusting of the science and the con. They knew that this misplaced trust would keep you from connecting the dots. Like the fact that they already pulled operations like this off in the 70s. And they did, when they convinced all the gays to come to the government-ran hospitals, which were conveniently planted on each of the main homosexual cities, on each coast, New York and San Francisco. They begged you, they practically begged you to come in to their offices for your health and take their free health care and their vaccinations, and you did it. They were very interested in your health for some reason, right? They coaxed the rabbit out of its hole. And right when all these free shots and government love went down, your people began coming down with HIV in droves. And in typical fashion, they even denied the existence of HIV and AIDS for a long, long time, just like they did with Morgellons in the 21st century. Those who don't remember the past are condemned to repeat it. And you are all the victims of the 21st century bio and informational weakening of the people. You are. You are cannon fodder. And with simple words hurting you so badly, you are the reason that we will have boots on our necks for speaking out about anything, because you will applaud the censoring of speech when it comes, because they've weakened you this badly. You need to realize what has went down. And again, those who don't remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Now let's change floors. Someone came to one of my videos and did what they seem to do all the time. They make statements that are completely unfounded and not at all based in reality. And then when you go to their channel, there is zero information. They don't have any videos up, and they give like detailed stuff. You know, like they'll say, this is a scalar wave based at 5,023 megahertz, right? And there's nothing to back it up. When you question them on it, there is no response or anything. They were saying in this statement that, remember everyone, that 5G activates the smart dust. Look, we're not talking about something that's activated. When you're talking about things that are, let's say, in a cell phone or modern surveillance, it doesn't even need a battery or anything like that. These are passive devices that work off power in the same way they would feed off like dirty electricity. Check this out. And this is just an example. It's not the same thing, but that fluorescent light bulb is being lit up wirelessly by this magnetron, right? And it's the same kind of thing. When something passive is in the vicinity of the power, I don't even think they'll be using smart dust in the sense that people think, you know, like tiny microchips or whatever. I think they would be using biomaterial. And that's the kind of thing that I have found in the past, is biomaterial. And that would all be passive. So if you had it blocked from all signals, it wouldn't do anything. And then when you expose it to those signals, then it does something. It's kind of like the same way that there are some bacteria, some molds, some fungus that actually propagate around certain frequencies. So they will start reproducing heavily when exposed to, say, 2.4 gigahertz, right? There was the case of that actually happening on somebody's phone. It was a flesh-eating bacteria, and when it got on the phone, it began propagating quickly. And they admitted this, and it ate the woman's face up. Very, very gnarly stuff. But yeah, when people come around, and people just need to be very, very weary of these people that have no information, no proof to back things up, and they make these really bold statements without anything to back it up at all. And now let's change floors again. I want to address what has been going on in China. It seems as though people in China are seemingly and allegedly being attacked with voice of God weapons at an alarming rate. And I say seems and allegedly because I can't prove it myself, I can't go there, but that is what people are claiming. And it's very, very odd what is going on in China. Let's check it out for a minute.
A harassment technique seemingly inspired by science fiction is reportedly being used to torment Chinese people, specifically those who dare to stand up against government corruption. An unusual type of harassment has reportedly appeared in China, seemingly taken from the pages of a science fiction novel. Some claim the Chinese regime has developed a special kind of technology used to broadcast information directly into a person's mind. Known as electronic harassment, it's allegedly used to silence those who dare to speak out.
Wang Haibang says he's been suffering from what he calls electronic harassment for 12 years. He explained that it all started after he filed a corruption report in 2008. It was against then police chief of the Wuning County Public Security Bureau inside Jiangxi province. Soon after, he described being illegally detained, beaten, intimidated, and framed. Not long after that, he was involved in a car accident, something he says was staged. It left him hospitalized. He explained that since then a device has been used to send information directly to his mind.
They observe my mind with the device and watch my movements. They also use the audio function to send voices to my mind, disturbing me round the clock.
Following his trip to the hospital, he says he began to suffer from the unique harassment.
So he left the hospital and this began to happen to him. This is very, very weird because the similarities are insanely close to what is happening to people in America and in the West, right?
Wang says he believes the local police are behind the electronic harassment.
The local police are not behind it.
That's because, according to Wang, they talk to him through it using their dialect and accent.
There is no way in hell that they are going to give the local police a weapon like this to use. It's long range, and a lot of people get this wrong. And the strange thing is, he suffers from the same ideas that it has to be local that people in America and in the West do as well.
They don't talk about anything else. They only talk about what I'm doing.
They only talk about what I'm doing, and that happens to be exactly what people deal with here.
Disturbing me no matter what I do. No matter what, they'll make noise and talk to me.
Wang told us that sometimes he can hear 5 or 6 people talking simultaneously.
This is the exact same thing that has happened to people here. It's the exact same thing that happened to, what was the Boston bomber's last name? Sarniev, the older brother that died. He was dealing with 3 voices talking to him after the FBI came and spoke to him. And then that began happening to him, and then the Boston bombing happens, right? Very odd.
Up to a dozen. He explained that to him it seems that they take shifts talking, insulting, and denouncing.
That's not true. This is a computer. And this is why people have to rationalize it like this, because if anybody really were talking to you this long, they would go insane themselves. They would absolutely go loopy, just talking 24/7. Even in shifts, they would go loopy. And that's how these people rationalize it like that. It's not. It's a computer, and it sounds very, very real to them. The government has had access to voice cloning and voice mimicking techniques that are far beyond what we've heard for decades. Decades and decades. What was it back in 1995? A woman got a call from her mother or her grandma. I can't remember which one it was. It's been a long time. But the woman talked to her for about 5 or 10 minutes, normal stuff, and then started asking her really weird questions, like creepy questions. And she came to the realization about 10 minutes in that it wasn't her mother or grandmother at all, that it was somebody else pretending to be with voice cloning technology. And this was 1995, right? And it was so good that there is no way that it was, somebody down the street or just some creep in his basement. This was like high-tech stuff, and they were testing it out on her. So, they have had the ability to mimic human voices for a long, long time. And that was back in 95. And they've had it longer than that.
Him in an effort to spark his anger and make him talk back.
So, yeah, he says here that it's an effort to spark his anger and make him talk back, just like people in the United States.
To spark his anger and make him talk back. According to him, the technology makes it so that only he can hear the noise. He describes it as a never-ending battle in his mind.
The local officials are too corrupt. They seek to kill you with this torture. They thought I couldn't last 2 years. They never imagined I would make it this long.
Now, that's the thing. Since the local police aren't really involved, they really will believe he's nuts, because they aren't in on it. And that's how this works. Eileen Wuornos was being hit right before she died. There's an interview with her where she says she was being hit with sonic pressure in a Nick Broomfield interview, and that the pressure was would go up as she continued writing, right? Which was clearly a sound in her ear that she was trying to describe, but she wasn't very articulate with it. Now, Eileen Wuornos blamed it on the prison, blamed it on the warden, blamed it on all these people, and clearly they thought she was absolutely insane, and it had nothing to do with them. So that's how they get these people to say insane things, because these people become convinced that it is someone near them.
But Wang's long-term fatigue has taken a serious toll on his health.
So he's had fatigue too, right? What are the odds that someone from China who lives in a completely different part of the world and lives in a completely different culture is experiencing exactly what people in the United States and in the West are also experiencing, to the detail, to the T? There is zero difference, right? He said that they comment on what he's doing all the time. That's exactly like the tale of the schizophrenic girl that I told you about that only hears surveillance. She's getting out of bed, she's walking down the hall, all of that. It is this story. Doctors gave her antipsychotics, and she decided to live with her voices. A new movement wants to shift mainstream thinking away from medication and toward greater acceptance. Why? Because a lot more people are going to be hearing this garbage. All that she hears is surveillance. Another voice tracked her every move. Its tone faintly mocking. She's getting out of bed now. Oh, she's walking down the hall now. Come on, man. And her mind is literally making these voices up according to these doctors. This is madness. Like you've got some conjoined twin in your brain talking to you. You know, and other people hear multiple voices. This is madness to believe this crap. For those who don't know, I'm just going to go into this really quick. I've recorded these voices in many places. I don't hear them. I hear them back in the recordings, but I have made these recordings around people who do hear them, and in homes and in different areas. So before we get into that, here is a commercial from Woody Norris.
So again, this idea of being able to put sound anywhere you want to is really starting to catch on. We've got the military had just deployed some of these into Iraq, where you can put fake troop movements a quarter of a mile away on a hillside. Or you can whisper in the ear of a supposed terrorist some biblical verse. I'm serious.
Here is a recording from when we were testing. We took 10 steps down the hall, and a computerish voice, sounds like a broken speak and spell, says 10 steps.
10 steps.
10 steps.
10 steps. 10 steps.
So it is surveilling the surroundings and making statements. And for those who can hear it, they believe they're either being harassed or they believe they're losing their minds. But it's really there. It is sitting in the ambient noise level. And with the right recording style and the right techniques, you can pull it right up. And this is what people believe are EVPs and all that garbage. And it's just surveillance, weaponized surveillance. So in this one, I ran down the hall, or took steps down the hall, and it says left foot flat-footed. Again, like a broken speak and spell, but more human sounding.
Left foot flat-footed.
Left foot flat-footed.
Left foot flat-footed.
It's very weird, but it's there. And there's no denying that it's there. And then we did it again, and it says which feet left foot, because it understands noises, just like your phone, just like an Alexa.
Which feet left foot?
Which feet left foot?
Which feet left foot?
So, you know, I find it very, very strange that now suddenly people in China that speak out are suddenly coming down with the exact same thing that people in America and in the West are experiencing, right? And a lot of what people in the West are experiencing is there to subvert the psychiatric industry and psychiatric diagnosis. And in China, it's being used for mainly political purposes, which it is also used here for those same reasons. But in China, if you complain about corruption or whatever, then suddenly you're hearing voices in your head in China. People need to realize what the hell is going on, man. It's obvious. Now, just to show you this real quick, before I began doing these tests back then, I was watching a documentary on September 11th. And when I began to do the recordings, a voice came in and it says September 11th, kind of a stuttery voice. It says September 11th, right? Let's check that out real quick. I was watching a documentary on 9/11. As I was recording later, a voice comes in and it says September 11th.
September 11th. September 11th. September 11th.
So yeah, if you're sensitized to hear this, and you are hearing it, You're going to believe in surveillance, that people or something is surveilling you, or that you're losing your mind. No different than the case where doctors gave her antipsychotics, but she decided to live with her voices, and the voices happened to say things like, another voice tracked her every move, its tone faintly mocking, she's getting out of bed now. Oh, she's walking down the hall. Right? Same kind of shit happening in China to political people, happening to people that believe they're schizophrenic here, and people who know they're being attacked with these weapons. It's insanity. And it's insanity to believe that it's just a coincidence that it's happening to people in China as well. Out of the blue, right? And that is it for now. Look out for Charlie.
We are one. When my boot comes down on your neck, we are one. That's right. Piano solo. Do you feel it? I feel it. It's got me by the feels. So bad, baby.